My nephews, welcome to the channel, welcome to the video, and welcome to another Let's Talk About Cars, y'all, and probably some racing. And yes, the y'all is because I'm in Texas now, and we got to throw it in there. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. We had an incredible Formula One race, but before talking about the race, I want to talk to you guys about car dealerships and how all of this is going to change very soon. And I think it's going to benefit all of us. But right now, they're kind of going through the motions like car dealerships have to defend themselves. And we're going to hear a lot about car dealers telling us why they should exist and why we need them so much. But I'm about to tell you here that, it just doesn't make any sense. After that, we're going to do a summary of the race in Baku, it wasn't the prettiest and greatest race you've ever seen, unless you're a Checo or Max Verstappen fan. And also if you're an Alonso fan. Other than that, it was pretty tame, but there was a lot of juice in there. There's a lot to milk from this cow. So we're going to talk about that. Do we have a real battle for the championship, for the drivers' championship between Checo and Max Verstappen? We're going to go into it. We're going to talk about, is it too late for Ferrari to wake up? Are they going to do it in time, or is it like a done deal for Red Bull? Then we're going to go and talk about Aston Martin being for real or just a simple impostor, because I do think they're not that for real as many people make it out to be. Then, is Mercedes stuck in limbo? Because it certainly feels that way. And until we see the new car, the W14B, what are we expecting as Mercedes fans? Yes, I'm a Mercedes fan, in case that wasn't clear with the 70 AMGs I got. And then we're going to close with Alpine's disaster and and obviously the pit lane fiasco that they had. So let's get started from the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Let's Talk About Cars, y'all, Texas edition. This is season 69, okay? And also, I don't have access to the channel of the Let's Talk About Cars here on YouTube, and I don't have access to my podcast, which has a ton of views, and a lot of people are subscribed to it. But hey, who gives a fuck? It's only been like 30 years. Let's get into it right now. Fellas, there's a big question looming around the air right now, and it is, in the car world, are dealerships about to disappear? And I'm sure we're not going to get into anything financially complicated here, but here's the reality of this. Right now, there's two narratives in the market. And one of them is dealers are here forever, and the other one is dealers are about to disappear. I am more on the side that dealers are going to disappear. And the simple reason why I'm leaning that way is simple, guys. Look at Tesla. Look at those delicious margins. A lot of people don't understand this. If you're a car person, you don't like Tesla, and you've never looked at their numbers and don't understand what they're doing, Tesla goes beyond just a car maker. It goes beyond an electric company, which we talked about since I got the Model X, and I used to hotbox it all the time on the channel. It goes way beyond all of that crap, guys. And what really makes Tesla so appealing is the fact that Elon made it so that it becomes way cheaper than having a regular car. That's basically it. Teslas are supposed to be cheaper cars than regular cars. And basically because of the way that he makes the cars, which every single time he lays down a production line, he makes it more and more efficient through time and in new locations. That means that every single time they put a car through the production line, they're going to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And also you have to think about this. They don't have dealerships. They have showrooms. And there's certain showrooms. But Tesla sells directly the car to customers, and they're saving a lot of money doing that. And people don't really understand how much money is wasted that everybody gets when you buy a Ford, when you buy a GM, when you buy a regular car at any car dealership. Look at how many people there are employed in that place. Look at how much they have to pay for the land lease. Look at how much they have to spend setting up the dealership up to the standards according to whatever brand that they're working with. Like if you're a Porsche dealer, that's going to be probably a $5 to $12 million building that you're going to fucking lay down to sell some Porsches. So all in, car dealerships, and because we're in this new market, this new economy with high interest rates, and we think hopefully they'll take them down, right? But let's say that they don't. Let's say that we continue to go on this road. Guys, I've been watching a lot of YouTubers make a lot of videos, and they're fucking phenomenal. We talked about this on the last Talk About Cars, yo. And these YouTubers just go from lot to lot, dealer to dealer, and they're analyzing how many cars there are on the lots. And people are going nuts because during the pandemic, there was nothing. Literally, and by the way, I don't know how many people really accept this fact or not really, but do you guys remember in the pandemic when they were like, dude, there's no microchips? There's nothing literally we can do. There's just no microchips, right? Do you guys remember that? Do you guys know that that turned out to be bullshit? They did have a shortage for just a tiny little bit, but eventually the dealers really got in love with the idea that they were being able to make way less cars and profit way more on the sale of each car. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but this is a real fact and you can look it up. And please do your research. Don't listen to a Mexican guy. Oh, and by the way, I know what you're thinking. Alejandro, since when you're a blood, I thought the whole time you were a creep. I'm no creep, motherfucker, and I'm no blood. I am just a Mexican guy that decided to match today. So let's be clear about that. And also, I can't do anything about my ugly face. But the rest, the rest it is what it is. So either way, we're talking about Tesla. We're talking about these car dealerships, and we have to understand. We have to understand these guys that are going to these car dealerships are looking at them now, and now they're seeing cars there, and it's obvious, right? The car payments are insane because of the interest rates, and the other thing is, guys, the prices. Oh my God. I was looking at these motherfuckers going in GM and Ford dealerships. A fucking Raptor, a brand new Raptor is like $100,000, and that's not even marked up. $100,000. Like, what? What? And GM is actively their CEO, which by the way is a woman for a lot of people that may know this. I thought it was interesting. Their CEO decided that she was going to do things a little bit different. And she told everyone, we're just going to produce less cars to keep the prices up here, which to me is ridiculous. And a lot of people are mocking Tesla, but the Tesla model kind of reflects on Toyota and Nissan, because in all of these videos that I'm watching with all of these great guys that go to these fucking dealerships, there's Nissans and Toyotas they're selling. And the reason why they're selling is because their MSRPs are the MSRP, but they didn't go up like crazy like American brands. American brands really fucking went to town on taking advantage of low inventory and high prices. They just did that. So the Japanese right now are beating the shit out of the American brands. This is not my research. This is literally all of the brand new Luther YouTube channels that I found online, just taking a shit every single day, where they just go to every single one of these dealerships. So I think that's a pretty good gauge of the market. And I know for a fact that what they're saying is true, because obviously I have friends that work at dealerships and I still talk to all of them or most of them. So I know how things are going. So Tesla, it's a big thing that a lot of people like to misrepresent. I don't know if you guys saw the launch of the SpaceX rocket, the Starship, but when they did Starship and he went up into the sky, they said, like, if you watched the launch, you knew that if the fucking thing just took off, it was going to be a success. Anything else was just like icing on the cake. And obviously, the rocket went up and whatnot, and when it was supposed to do the deployment of the other phase, it started like spinning and then it just exploded. But all of the media made it out to seem like it was a big failure. And they do the same thing with the Tesla prices. They make you believe that Elon Musk and that Tesla is so broke and that no one wants to buy their cars, that they're taking their prices down. But the reality is, Elon prices the car according to whatever the market is. If you think about it, when the market was really hot, he went on and started taking higher prices on these cars. He was marking them up on the way up, and he was like, dude, the Model Y now it's $5,000 more. The Model X, $5,000 more. Do you guys remember? So when the economy is good, Elon has no problem adjusting those prices, and it goes up on the fly. No other car maker does what Tesla does in that regard. And then when the economy is bad and you got to make up for the 20% extra on the payment that people have to make, Elon is taking the prices down. And remember, he's got the biggest, fattest, fucking healthiest margins ever. They're the cheapest car to make right now at their prices. And they're the cheapest cars to own because you don't have to, like, I have my Porsche right now. It's got the take me to service thing. I don't want to take this motherfucker to service. I also don't want to go to gas stations. This is a real problem. I'm like, I have 2 electric cars. I adore them. I don't have to fucking go anywhere to get him charged, to get him going, or anything like that. But with my Porsche, I got to go to the gas station. And this is basically what we're seeing everywhere, all around. Like it's way cheaper and way easier to have an electric car than a gas car. I'm not saying Gas cars are going to disappear. This is the end of them. No one should ever buy another one. No one said that. Like, I love gas cars, and I think they're here to stay, and they're going to do it with biofuels and whatnot. But here's the fucking reality of everything, right? There are many jobs that are redundant, that are not really, that people are not really needed for those jobs. And in those jobs, Elon Musk proved to us that the dealer model was terrible, that it sucks. People don't want to, and this is something I was watching. I was watching another one of these guys on YouTube, and he owns a dealership or many dealerships. I don't know. And he was talking about how people need dealerships because you need to negotiate. That's not true. The worst thing about buying a car is going to the dealership knowing there's a lower price that you can get, and the guy's job that's selling it to you is to keep as much money as possible in there so that he can keep it. And he goes, guys, and you watch the video, and he goes, guys, just go there. And you trust me, you want to negotiate. No, we don't. No, we don't. I don't know a single fucking person that wants to go buy a car and goes like, you know what I love to do today? I love to fucking negotiate with an asshole about something that I need that he knows he can give me for a cheaper price, but he's going to get off on the idea that I paid more for it. These models are going to disappear. And specifically in this economy, let's say that it continues to go the way it is. Why would anyone want to pay more? And also, a lot of car dealers and a lot of brands are already doing this. They're doing the shake up. They're shaking up their car dealers. They're making sure that only big dealers can remain with their dealerships. And they also want for those to say like, this is not worth it and give them up. They want that because Ford, GM, all of those guys are looking at Tesla. Have you seen the meme of SpongeBob? And it's SpongeBob running with Patrick. And then there's Calamardo. I don't know what his name is in English, the guy with the big nose. And he's just staring at him from the inside and they're having all the fun. That's literally the American car makers watching Elon Musk having a fucking blast with all of his discounts and his margins. And everybody else is like, well, fuck me. What am I going to do? It's really expensive to have 1 billion employees. It's more expensive to have franchises. It's really expensive to sell them locally, regionally, and then to the fucking dealership. It's really expensive, and all of that adds up, and it's going to put you in a non-competitive market. So if you're a dealer and if you own or have the ability, because I have dealerships, by the way, I have 2 dealerships in Mexico. Let us be clear. I'm not just saying this because I believe the model is whatever. I believe our model is wrong. I believe it would be easier for me to have just everything on my website and for people to purchase the car. But I also know for a fact that in Mexico, it took about 10 more years for the online thing, just buying shit online, to become a thing. So it's going to take a longer time in Mexico for this to happen, what's happening with Tesla, even though Tesla is still doing the same thing in Mexico as they do in here. Although it works a little bit different. It's adapted to that area. But in the United States, having all those employees, as we can tell, is a fucking pain in the ass. Productivity is at an all-time low. So, do you really want to keep all of that infrastructure while Elon Musk is just making a fucking killing in all of his products? Or do you really want to make some money, son? And they do. And this is where I want to close with this. Car dealerships, car brands above the dealers are already looking at anything that they can. And they're doing like basically what's happening with the banks. They're raising their standards for franchises so high so that everyone just gives up on having a dealership, because otherwise you would have to sue them if they go into the model of selling directly to people. And believe me, all of these car brands are looking into it. No one likes to leave money on the table. No one, specifically the Jews. No, I'm just kidding. But no one likes to leave money on the table. That's a real fucking fact. Why would they go and continue to do the same thing that everybody else does, losing the money when they can just adapt to the new model? And again, no one needs to negotiate anything. You need to see the car. I'm sure there's a way for you to see the car that you're buying and all that stuff. And again, Tesla already proved that it works. And there's over, I believe, 4 million Teslas out there in the world now to back up what I'm saying. So there you have it. And also, by the way, This is why I think Rivian, out of all of the other companies in the United States that make electric cars, is going to also survive this. Now, Rivian doesn't have the efficiency that Tesla all the way into production because they don't know how to produce like Tesla. Tesla's a fucking machine in that sense. But Rivian is the only other car maker, electric car maker, that makes sense in the United States because of the volume of the cars that they're selling, because of the crowd that they're selling it to, and because the brand that they've built already. So just with that, to me, Rivian is a good bet, and I want you to know that I have I have less than 1,000 shares of Rivian too, just so you'll know that I bought at $16 each, so I'm losing on them right now. Just wanted to do that. Now, you motherfuckers saw the F1 race. Did you guys see that? Oh, so just to end that, I believe that car dealerships are going to disappear and that everything is going to be P2P and that there's going to be very small groups that really actually have cars. And that's going to stay like within the super high-end dealerships because super rich people have nothing to do other than going and get their balls gargled at these dealerships. Just know that. They're bored. They walk in. It's part of the pastime for them. Right? So let us all be on the same page about this. So unfortunately for those guys defending it, and again, I own 2 dealerships in Mexico, same group, Swipe Motorsports. At some point, it's going to be easier to just manage them through a website than having the actual floor and all of that good stuff. Although my flooring in Mérida is pretty cool. That's by Cancun. And we can turn it, I actually want to turn that into a store, a retail store for something. Either way, not going to bore you with that. Now, did you motherfuckers watch the race? F1 this weekend, Baku, Azerbaijan. Baku is the capital of Azerbaijan. Oh my God. I thought we were going to have a really, 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 really epic race because there's a lot of crashes. And we saw that in quali. We saw that on Friday, basically. And then we never saw it again. It kind of like died down. The race was not what every other Baku race has been. It was like one of the most tamed ones. Really boring if you're just watching for the first time. I'm sorry if you're one of those viewers and for some reason I made you watch that race. It's not the most exciting one, but little by little we're going to build up. I promise you on that. So this weekend, I want to do a summary of this whole thing because I want to talk about the sprint races. Do we really like the format of the sprint races in Formula One? What is different? So, as you guys know, we have normally 3 practices that start on Friday. 2 practices on Friday, 1 on Saturday before qualifying, and then you have the race on Sunday. This time around on Friday, you had 1 practice and 1 qualifying. And that qualifying is your equivalent. That would be your equivalent to a regular Saturday. So it's your practice, your qualifying, and that would be for the race on Sunday. And then they added on Saturday another super fast qualifying, which is called the sprint shootout qualifying. And then they had the sprint race, which is like a race that only was, I believe, 17 laps instead of 57, which was the entire race. And it was kind of retarded. To be honest with you, it was super fucking stupid to have two qualifyings because you have the same cars. There's no time for new modifications or anything in the cars. So you ended up with the same results over and over again unless someone fucked up. That wasn't that exciting because also the guys on the top, the guys all the way at the front of the pack, those guys are not going to fuck up. Like, what do you think Max Verstappen's going to come out and fuck up? He never does that. Checo maybe every now and then he does. Lewis gets it every single time. Like, you know what I mean? I thought it was a little bit pointless that we had that double qualifying. I personally would have liked the idea of doing the 1 lap qualifying. If you're gonna start fucking with this, just fuck with it a little bit more. And then do a 1 fucking lap qualifying for the sprint race. That's what I would do. And perhaps make the sprint race result the qualifying actually for the race, like you used to do before. I thought this was very fragmented and very stupid and lame. It felt like 2 weekends in one, and that teams didn't really have time to set up their cars properly. And it really, I feel like it really showed up in the race. So, what exactly happened this race? I want to share with you guys my screen. 1 second. So I got in here the results, right? We got, so number 1, Checo Perez won the fucking Grand Prix. He beat Max Verstappen. We're going to talk about it right now. Max Verstappen second, Ferrari in third with Charles Leclerc, Fernando Alonso in fourth with Aston Martin, Carlos Sainz Ferrari fifth, Lewis Hamilton sixth, Lance Stroll with Aston Martin 7, George Russell Mercedes 8, Lando Norris 9, Yuki Tsunoda 10, and then I'm not going to mention anyone except Oscar Piastri because Dude, man, was sick. He had fucking diarrhea and was shitting himself all weekend long and still made it, driving a McLaren to 11th place on the grid. That is fucking incredible, guys. That is incredible. It's pretty hard to drive one of those cars, and especially in those temperatures in Baku. So 57 laps, it wasn't really a very exciting race. To me, it was, from the start, Checo and Max come out. You guys saw. Leclerc was in front of him. Max went with everything he had to go past Leclerc, and then Checo did the same. Once they were back to back, I thought, Max is just going to go because that's what Max does. But for some reason, Checo has been really fucking strong in Baku forever. He is the most awarded driver in Baku right now that's driving, and I think ever. But as of right now, he is. So, and he's also the only driver that has won twice in Baku, which is pretty impressive right now. That's why they named Checo, and because he normally wins on street circuits like Monaco, the Street King. That's why they call him that. It's not because he makes incredible carnitas outside of his neighborhood. They don't call him Street King for that. They call him Street King because he's epic on those street fucking races. And this was one of those where Max didn't have a lot of advantage over Checo. And if you watch the race at the beginning, because there was a safety car, and we'll talk about it in a second, but at the beginning when he was between Checo and Max, Max never opened that gap above 1 second. Checo was right there behind him, just waiting. Because again, like I said, Max might be incredible at everything he does, but Checo has this one track down to a science. So he was putting pressure on Max, and then out of nowhere, a fucking, Nick de Vries in AlphaTauri decides that he was going to go into the wall and take a little break, a very little Latifi moment that he had. So he goes into the wall. Max was going into pits, and I was like, oh no, Max just got all of the advantage. But the safety car, they didn't pull the safety car until Max was done. Then they pull out the real safety car, and then Checo went into pits. And that gave Checo the advantage and put him right ahead of Max when he came out. And after that moment, Max was never able to catch Checo. Never. And I do personally believe that Checo would have won this race without this happening. He had a really good shot. Was he going to be faster than Max and probably pass him because we know that Max can defend like a fucking monster? I don't know, but I feel like Checo legitimately, if you watch all of the race, they were giving it all. Max and Checo were sliding the car and hitting the corners like a little bit, but they were, which means they were not chilling. To a lot of people, they were looking at the race and they were like, oh, the Red Bulls had such a margin because they beat everybody else by 20-something seconds. The gap was insane to the second team, which is Ferrari. But Red Bull looks really strong. And everybody thought at the beginning of the year, oh, Max is going to win everything. But this year, the Mexicans, we have something to say, people. We have something to say. Checo is doing a fucking fantastic job. I don't know what it is. This is a Checo 2.0. Just like last year we had Max 2.0, the stronger, smarter, better decision-making Max Verstappen. This year we have Checo Perez bringing the same type of deal. He's not taking any shit. He's not there to be second. He's not there to smell anyone's farts. He's there to fucking win. And this is reminding me a little bit of Hamilton Rosberg, because Rosberg, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a YouTuber that in equal machinery as Lewis Hamilton beat him in Formula One. By the way, I didn't know that was a meme. I went into a Nico, shout out to Nico. He's a fucking awesome dude. I went into Nico's channel because I wanted to see if he was doing the track things that he does. And all of the comments were like, is this the YouTuber that... Phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Fucking Nico Rosberg. He's a monster, that dude. He's a beast. Either way, it's reminding me a lot of that season. And I think that as long as Checo just keeps at it and doesn't fuck up in this car, because now we have a real competition. There's no way. I personally don't think that Ferrari is going to be able to wake up in time. I don't think that Mercedes is going to be able to do anything, to be honest with you. And I think Aston Martin's full of shit. And the rest of the grid is just dead. So I think the battle for the first place, for the first time since Lewis and Max had that battle where they took Lewis's championship and gave it to Max, I don't care how many people get mad. For the first time, we have a real fight for the championship. Max and Checo are only 6 points apart. I'm going to give you guys and put the standings right now. So Max has 93 points. Checo has 87. They both have had 2 wins, which means Red Bull has won, like they've won all 4 races. But Max has 4 podiums. That means every single race this year. And Checo only has 3. So Alonso's on 3rd place, 60 points. Hamilton, 48. Carlos Sainz for Ferrari in 5th place, 34. Charles Leclerc, who's had like terrible luck, 28. George Russell for Mercedes, 28, tied up with Leclerc. Lance Stroll, 27th. Lando Norris, 10 points. And Nico Hülkenberg, somehow, with fucking Haas, he's right there. Now, the constructors, this is gone. Like, at least in the other one, we have Max and Checo. They're 6 points apart. And then there's going to be an awesome race for 3rd, 4th, 5th place. That's going to be epic. But in here, come on. 180 points for Red Bull. And then Aston Martin, who's dropping the fuck off. 87 points. And then Mercedes with 76. Ferrari with 62. Now, the battle is going to be between these two for the 2nd place. I don't know who's going to win it. I'm sorry. I know I sound really negative for Aston Martin, but they're not going to do it. They're not going to be able to do it. I'll get into my point right now. So the championship is getting good because of this battle between Checo and Max Verstappen. We have Miami coming up this weekend. It's going to be fucking epic. But this brings me to my next point. Is it too late for Ferrari to wake up? Now that we're going to Miami and we saw that Ferrari was able to catch higher speeds and do much better than before. Because honestly, the Ferraris were garbage until now. Now they had a little comeback. They felt like back to life. But also at the same time, they were taking care of their tires way too much. You could tell that Charles and Carlos were terrified of using those tires. And why do I know that? Because the Mercedes that were behind, because the Aston Martin that were behind were getting close to them. And then they actually took their time and were like, no. We're going to space it out again. And they went on ahead. At the same time, the Aston Martin, great tire management, and the Mercedes too. I was very impressed by that. But the Ferrari one, they're still very scared that the tires are just going to burn right up. And you could tell. And you saw Charles, he drove really hard at first. And then as soon as Verstappen or Checo were coming in, he was like, yeah, I'm just going to let him go. This is not my fight. He still feels like there's a gigantic gap right there. And to be honest with you, you can tell that they're nervous about Aston Martin and Ferrari because they don't burn the tires like Ferrari does. Charles had an incredible drive. Obviously, after, it's like he just can't catch a break. He got pole position in the qualifying session for both, and he just couldn't finish either one winning it. And I know it's really fucking hard, specifically having those Red Bulls behind you, because with DRS, it's like they have 8 DRSs. DRS, drag reduction system, is when the wind goes. For some of the people that might be watching that don't know, it's nice to tell. I know when I was watching Formula One, no one explains anything, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? So that was really nice to see. Is it still Ferrari in the window to win something, to do something, to really take a big step towards Red Bull's pace? No, they're still very far. But I do think this puts them in the competition for the 2nd place, which, as before this weekend, I didn't think that they were going to be in the competition at all this year. So this was like a nice wake-up call. But again, Ferrari seeing all of their most important people just leaving them, right? So Ferrari's going through some shit right now. So we got to be patient. We got to be nice to them, especially Carlos Sainz, who I do believe is one of the most underrated drivers on the grid, even though he drove like shit this weekend because he was scared and you could tell. From there, I want to talk about Aston Martin. Are they for real? Are they pretenders? Are they contenders? And I want to say, it's pretty fucking impressive what they've done. They had a great race this Sunday. And I really like the dynamic between Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso. I love that when Lance got behind Alonso, he immediately made sure and made it clear to everyone on the radio that he was not trying to pass Alonso, that he was not going to go on attack, that they both had a team plan and that they were going to execute that plan. That, ladies and gentlemen, and then to make things even better, as Alonso was going and giving like this tire management fucking world-class class that he gave and put up for everyone to watch. Oh, and that pass that he made on Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz at the beginning. Oh, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso was managing his race like a fucking king. And at some point he gets on the radio and goes, hey, by the way, did you tell Lance my recommendation about how to use the brakes? It's really working. It's like, fuck you, Fernando. Are you just the coolest fucking guy in the world? And he is. He is a cool motherfucker. He did an incredible control of his race. I was blown away by it, but now let's get to it. They are the ones that started favorites to become that second place. Everybody thought there's no one on the pack that's going to better Red Bull, but there's no one that's going to touch even Aston Martin. They're that good at the beginning. And ever since we had that feeling, it's kind of gone away. And now you're starting to see people actually start to rumor that perhaps we saw the last Fernando Alonso podium of the season. I am one of those believers. I do think Fernando can score another couple of podiums. There's no question about it. But I don't think there's going to be that consistency. I don't think Aston Martin's going to be able to take all of those upgrades and take them to where they need to be. Just like Ferrari did last year, they had an incredible initial product, but they got in their own way. And Lawrence Stroll, Papa Stroll, mean Santa Claus, however you want to call him. I'm just kidding. That dude, he's one of those guys that gets in his own way. And the reason why he gets in his own way is because he wants to be the know-it-all, say-it-all, do-it-all in his team. And you can tell that he's not very good at that. Aston Martin is a great investment. Why? Because when he bought it, he put a lot of makeup on it. He got Sebastian Vettel for Formula One. He put the brand everywhere. He got the brand new colors. He made, they had the Valkyrie. I can't remember if they were already doing the Valkyrie or not, but he certainly created the Valhalla, which I haven't seen on the street. And then he had all of these other Aston Martins that were coming out. He had momentum. He built it all up, but he hasn't delivered a single fucking thing. And that's where I'm like, I personally, and this is obviously my personal, completely out of the grid take on this. I just don't think they're going to be able to better their car anymore. I think they had a Ferrari last year, not even that strong because Ferrari at least was beating Red Bull at the beginning. And I think they're just going to get stuck. I think Fernando Alonso is going to get a couple more podiums. And I do think he can win a race. But there's going to be a DNF by Red Bull, no question about it, or a weird story like that. Like a Monaco type of race that anyone can win. It's going to be one of those if Fernando really takes that 33rd victory. And I want to see him win. At first, I did not believe in him. I saw him compete when he was doing the Indy 500 with Pato the first time when Pato crashed. And then I saw him as he progressed. I saw him his first year in Formula One, and he struggled. But then he shut me up, and then he got really fucking good. Like really good. Like uncomfortably good. And that's the Fernando Alonso I'm seeing today at its best, at the peak of performance. I know for a fact this motherfucker's got to take all of those pills that they give you so that you look young and like your blood is younger and your fucking liver is younger. And I actually need all of those pills immediately. But you can tell the dude's taking care of himself. And my favorite part is he did not answer a single Taylor Swift question this weekend. He left the mystery open. I like it. I like it a lot. Now, what about Mercedes? Mercedes is my team. And ever since Lewis Hamilton lost that race, which, by the way, I was doing a live session with like everyone in Mexico and when the race. So we were broadcasting the race. And when that happened, every now and then I like to go back and watch that part because it looks like I'm going to fucking kill myself after the transmission's done. I was really sad. And I was really sad for Lewis because I thought he was going to retire at that point. He wanted that 8th title and then just call it a day. You can tell that all of this was happening. And it just didn't happen. Lewis didn't get the 8th win. And now he's got to come back. The car is garbage. And then Toto Wolff says, oh, we've learned so much. I don't know how. Toto sounds like a Russian too, or like Vic. By the way, inflation is insane. So if Vic was making $70,000 already fixing cars in 2017, is he charging $850,000 now? Just something for everybody to think about and for me to worry about when I come back to LA. But yeah, It feels like Toto Wolff with the Mercedes, like he went, I'm gonna park this fucking W13 right outside of our office so that we all see it and spit at it every day and remember that we fucked up. And then it's like, Toto, 2014 is coming up. Should we do the same or should we try something different? Let's go with the same. I don't understand that. They're talking about having a W14. W14 is the car that they have this year, and that they're gonna have a B car. I don't know how much money that's going to take away from them, from their cap expenditures. That's something that worries me. But when are you going to bring this car out? They say that Italy is going to be the date. But that's going to be too late. So you're planning on getting Lewis all this year and then show him again. Because last year they ended up, like George Russell won the Brazilian Grand Prix, if I'm not mistaken. Like they won a race. They ended up on that high note. They were really close. You're going to do the same thing and then go back to 2024 next year and then show up and just suck again? I need to see something from Mercedes, and I need to see it fast. They improved a lot from the first race to the third. This one felt a little bit back to like, fuck. That's how it felt back to. But I need to see something from Mercedes. I need to see something for Lewis Hamilton, and I think Lewis Hamilton needs to see something for himself. I don't care how relaxed Toto Wolff is about Lewis's contract. Lewis wants to win. He's changed teams before. The problem is the only other Red Bull really the only other team contending for a championship is Red Bull right now, and they don't need Lewis Hamilton on their seat. So that's a fucking shame. McLaren. Everybody was so excited about the new changes that the McLaren was going to bring to the track. Oh my God, the new car is going to be so improved. Everybody, oh, wow. The car does like 0.2 more of a second of like a really terrible time. And everybody's like, whoa, look at the results. And then you see, they asked Lando Norris, Lando, how do you feel about the McLaren performance now with all of the upgrades? Yeah, it's still shit. That was something that I took away with me. That was still McLaren, dude. I think Lando Norris's patience is done. Like you hear that guy, he talks like someone who doesn't care anymore. He's just like, meh, whatever. Like last year Charles Leclerc had like a time that he sounded different from how he sounds now. He sounded like cheerful, like youth was in his body, like his soul was right there and warm and ready. And then one day, Binotto killed his soul, and now we have that Charles Leclerc. That's the Lando Norris that we have right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if Lando tries something else next year. And I know that McLaren is going to do everything to keep him there, but also, dude, they have Piastri. Piastri's really fucking good. Like, I'm blown away by how good that fucking kid is. Because you're seeing Logan Sargent in Williams. You're seeing Nick DeVries, who, I mean, yeah, and I love Nick DeVries. I really think his attitude is awesome, and I think he's a funny guy, and he's got like the charm and whatnot. But dude, you won Formula E. It's not enough. It's not enough. He's not doing anything with it. It's like how much. Like I want to see how much time we gotta give him. But Piastri's proving to me like, oh, that's what that looks like. That's what talent looks like. And I remember seeing Leclerc. And I was like, holy shit, he might be driving a piece of shit, but what the fuck? And Piastri has the same thing. Lando Norris, obviously, same shit. But I just don't see it with DeVries. So I don't feel that things are going to go well for DeVries this year. Now I understand, by the way, why they wanted Colton Herta so bad, even though Colton's not the best at IndyCar. But they were like, all right, let's bring a guy. Because DeVries is really not good. I want to say that with all due respect to Nick DeVries, because he deserves it, but he's not that great. I'm sorry. And to finish with Lando Norris, I do think he might move away if McLaren doesn't really end up on a good note this year. If they don't and everything continues to be as is, I do feel like Lando's going to fucking run away as fast as possible. And to close this, let's talk about Alpine's disaster. Dude, what a fucking terrible weekend for Pierre Gasly, for the mechanics, for everyone, for Ocon. I mean, they had a really fast car last year with a lot of reliability issues, and Alonso fucking put him in their place. And he was so tired that at the first opening he left. Good for him. That was the right move. Now you got Pierre Gasly. Even Ocon, he's pretty good. As much as I don't like him, he as a person, and I don't know why. I think it's Drive to Survive mostly, and also the fact that he's French. And I know Gasly's French too, but there's something about Ocon. I think it might have been like his whole thing with Checo. It could be that I just have that bias, so I'm not going to say anything bad about Ocon. But I'll say this: very disappointing. Very disappointing season right now. They're not finding pace. They're not finding reliability. And I want to say that Otmar Satnauer, what? Oh, Otmar Satnauer? I can't believe I'm forgetting his last name. The team principal, dude, he's absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. He's never done anything right. Because of him, Checo's right now in Red Bull because he fired him, got rid of him, and was like, oh my God, you're done. Like, he's terrible at making decisions. I don't understand how he's still in Formula One. It blows my mind. But Alpine is a fucking disaster right now. They really got to work hard and in incremental fucking gains to be back to where they were last year. Not like at a new fucking pace, just to be back to where they were last year. I legitimately don't have high hopes for them. And by the way, a lot of people don't understand what happened at the end. At the end of the race, Esteban Ocon didn't pit. And every single time you go in a Formula One race, you got to try 2 tire compounds. You got to try, let's say, soft and mediums or mediums and hard, soft and hard, whatever you want, but it's got to be 2 different tires. So basically, they were hunting for that safety car to come out at some point, benefit from it, whatnot. It never came out. So Ocon had his tires all the way through the end. And at some point, even in the TV, they were like, dude, Crofty was like, is he going to come back? Is he going to come into pits? Or is he just going to finish the race not giving a shit that he didn't change the tires? And then last lap, he went in. But as he was going into pits, all of the fucking camera people and whatnot, they were getting ready because that's where they put the cars at the end of every Grand Prix so they can take pictures as to who ended up in P1, P2, P3. So there was already people around there. Ocon's coming into pits, and he almost ran over like 3 guys. It was crazy how many people were there, how fast they moved, and thank God Ocon had full control of the car and whatnot, no problem. But that shows you, this is a really fucking dangerous sport. Like when you go to a Formula One race and you are able to step into the racetrack area and whatnot, they're really strict about where you can and cannot be because of like the speed of the cars. It's so dangerous. So I'm sure everybody understands that. But that blew my mind. And obviously the FIA is going to do something about it. So that was the race. I'm really looking forward to Miami. We're going to talk about Miami later this week. I'm so fucking pumped. I'm not going to be able to go to the Miami Grand Prix. Thank you, Alejandro. Thank you for your fucking stupid ass work. But hey, why don't you go fuck yourself, Alejandro? I will. Either way, guys, this was everything I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Thank you very much for joining me. And I'll see you soon. Felt good to talk about cars, y'all.